called Zen Burro. I'm not an actual donkey, but donkey in soul.
I thought you were related somehow.
No. It's not like a mule or anything where I'm...
Then how come you eat so many burritos? I thought that meant tiny burro.
Nah, I don't know what it means anymore.
What? What?
Yeah.
So we are picking up with chapter 51 of the Tao Te Ching. Hopefully the stream goes smoothly today. Oh, you want to know something cool?
What?
The video from the last stream,
Yeah.
I guess remained unaffected.
Oh, so, okay.
Like on our end, it was all screwed up, but watching the VOD back, like it just looks like I'm a crazy person who thinks my stream quit.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. I guess I reconnected in a quick enough time where like it didn't really interrupt anything.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Good to know.
Yeah. What are we doing? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're on chapter 51 of the Tao Te Ching.
I gotta screen share this shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I have to make it the focus, the spotlight. And we could take this off the screen so people can actually see the whole thing. There we go.
Yeah.
So who wants to start today?
I'll let you start today.
Oh, I wonder why. All things start from the Tao. They are nourished by virtue.
Yeah.
They are shaped by the environment.
You skipped, they are formed from matter.
Oh yeah, they are formed from matter. They are shaped by the environment. Thus, the 10,000 things all respect the Tao and honor the virtue. But they are in the nature of things. Therefore, all things arise from Tao. By virtue, they are nourished, developed, cared for, sheltered, comforted, grown, and protected. Creating without claiming, doing without taking credit, and guiding without interfering. This is primal virtue. You have anything about that?
I think about, like, when I make something because I wanted to, not because I'm doing it for money or for anybody else. Right. I mean, in a certain sense, there is, like, I am creating it for somebody else, but it's mostly because I want to share it, not because, like, I have something to gain from it.
Like, you're not doing it for sheer recognition. You're doing it because, like, you want to put it out there and let other people see it and shit.
Right, exactly.
I mean, going off of what you're saying, if I was doing this for recognition,
yep,
I wouldn't do it at all.
Oh yeah, like this would have been, we wouldn't even have started video 2.
No.
Or stream 2, yeah.
No, yeah. And then we wouldn't be like talking about what to do after this or the videos that are going to follow this for straight up YouTube or anything.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you guys know this, but like streaming is hard, dude. Like actually building an audience is kind of difficult, and I don't think people recognize that because the things that get paid most attention to are the outliers, right?
Right.
Like Dr. K's stream is super freaking cool. I recommend everybody check it out.
Yep.
But he was streaming for 6 months, right?
Right.
And his recent concurrent viewer count is around 30,000. But that's not the experience of like 99% of people.
Yeah.
So for the rest of us, like if we wanted money out of this, we would just stop.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Because it wouldn't be worth it. But like, we're doing this because, like, I think we both like this stuff and we both, like, have found value in it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And right now I'm putting stuff back in my wallet because I forgot to because I was trying to get into my Coinbase account.
Hmm.
Another thing it reminds me of, like, okay, so I'm no longer really Christian. Like, I grew up super Catholic, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of, like, darkly tinted Catholicism, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm not anymore. But I do remember a lot of things from the Bible, right?
Right.
Somehow. And Christianity tends to paint things very darkly unless they're talking about Jeebus.
Yeah, like Jeebus is the light.
Right, and like it therefore is the only thing to like speak highly about.
Right.
Everything else kind of has like a nightmarish tint to it.
Yeah, the world is a nightmare.
Even like the stories of like Old Testament virtue and all that.
Yep.
But there was one thing that in the Bible where basically, in summary, if all you know how to do is treat your own family right, you're no better than like the other beasts because all of them know how to treat their young well too.
Yeah.
And like this is sort of saying the same thing without like the darkly tinted bullshit.
Yeah.
So like it comes natural for most people and most other animals for that matter
Yep.
to treat those closest the best and to sort of look at everybody else as being on the outside.
Right.
So Taoism kind of takes that aspect and says that we should try to apply it to humanity as a whole and to the cosmos as a whole. Like we are part of the whole thing.
Yep.
And like that's one of the reasons I moved away from the one thing and toward the other thing.
Yeah.
That's the only other thing I would add.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty insightful.
I don't know about all that.
All right, 52. The beginning of the universe is the mother of all things. Knowing the mother, one also knows the sons. Knowing the sons, yet remaining in touch with the mother, brings freedom from the fear of death. Keep your mouth shut, guard the senses, and life is ever full. Open your mouth, always be busy, and life is beyond hope. Seeing the small is insight, yielding to force is strength. Using the outer light, return to insight, and in this way be saved from harm. This is learning constancy.
What does that mean?
I think we may have read this one actually.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but I think the next one is newish. But if you want to talk about it still, we can.
I think you're right, actually. So
Okay. Yeah.
Man, it gets hard to keep track of where you are, dudes.
Yeah, but at least we're not totally off. So.
53. If I have even just a little sense, I will walk on the road, and my only fear will be straying from it. Keeping to the main road is easy, but people love to get sidetracked. When the court is arrayed in splendor, and the fields are full of weeds, and the granaries are bare, some wear gorgeous clothes, carry sharp swords, and indulge themselves in food or drink. They have more possessions than they can use. They are robber barons. This is certainly not the way of the Tao.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like we were just sort of talking about this.
Oh yeah. Like.
In a way, right?
Mhm.
So, like, I used to drink a lot.
Yeah.
I know people who still drink a lot.
Yep.
One of them I am attempting to get to not drink.
Yeah.
And basically, this whole passage is about denial of the way things actually are.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you're in a situation like the one in the passage where, you know, the fields don't have any crops and
Yep.
your granaries are running empty, like, I would argue that Lao Tzu would think that maybe you should do something about your crop situation and get yourselves to the point where you can start filling up your grain stores again instead of doing what a lot of people do, which is like distracting themselves.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like we both dealt with a ton of anxiety in our lives.
Oh yeah.
And I can say from personal experience that there were a lot of times where it felt easier to distract myself or to be in denial about the root of my anxiety
Right.
versus actually doing the things that are going to help me get over it
Yeah.
or help me acclimate myself to a new way of seeing the situations that made me anxious.
Yeah. Exactly.
It was super hard. And like, I think, what was it like for you?
When dealing with all that stuff.
Yeah, la ansiedad y todo eso.
Yeah, like getting sidetracked and all that is very easy.
Like,
It's like kind of like a desire. When I was trying to be super Catholic back in those days that you know me, and I was reading Saint Augustine's Confessions. That was a constant theme in his book that he was basically distracting himself with all types of things, like engaging in hedonistic pleasures and all that, until he found Christianity. And regardless of his decision, and because he went full on like, hey, this is the way, so screw all of these other paths, which I don't agree with, but there's something to like engaging in mindless sensual pleasures that just dulls your mind and kind of makes things worse emotionally.
yeah.
Yeah, and I've gone through that phase too, where like I was more interested in like feeling good rather than doing the work and improving my well-being, my
Yeah.
psychological well-being.
And it's weird, right? Because the work that we did in the long, like in the short term, it sucked.
Yeah,
But like, I wouldn't be able to do this live stream and actually talk coherently about anything
yeah,
if I hadn't done the work. Like, most of what would come out of my mouth would be just crap that I read in other books about Taoism.
yeah, pretty much.
And like, I would be totally unhappy.
Yeah. So like, yeah, this is definitely a lesson on overcoming distractions and stuff.
Like, I think, like, too, it's not just distraction, but straight up denial, right?
Yeah,
Because like we could see this economically, right? Whenever our country, because we live in the U.S.,
yeah,
historically, whenever our country has gone through some kind of economic dip, I hesitate to use the word recession
yeah,
because it happens even when it doesn't meet the technical definition of a recession. But we tend to spend a ton of money on entertainment
yep,
and food and creature comforts and like all the, like people who can start going on vacations, and like it's more than just a distraction. Sometimes I think it's outright denial of what's actually going on.
right.
Like if you're rich, dude, and the US is going through an economic depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could see you being like, screw it, I'm just gonna go to Spain.
Yeah,
And that's a different form of denial.
yeah, pretty much. Society's pretty much structured that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally agree.
But yeah, everything about when the court is arrayed in splendor. Yep. Yep.
You see why, like, I made the connection not just to distraction, but outright denial of um, the actual situation.
Well, yeah, because nothing gets done.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think of that Edgar Allan Poe story, Mask of the Red Death, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and your dark stuff.
Hey, it's a good short story.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, one of his better ones. They should teach it more in school, especially in these days, because it's about the plague.
Yeah, like why do they always teach like the Raven and Fall the House of Usher?
Yeah, and the Telltale Heart.
Oh, and that too. But like he never wrote anything else. Like people who've told me they like Edgar Allan Poe and they only mention those stories, I'm like, you read that in high school, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I didn't read that stuff in high school. It was later.
I feel sorry for you
Yeah.
sometimes.
Oh well.
You caught up. You caught up.
All right. So 54. What is firmly established cannot be uprooted. What is firmly grasped cannot slip away. Be honored from generation to generation. Excuse me. Cultivate virtue in yourself, and virtue will be real. Cultivate it in the family, and virtue will abound. Cultivate it in the village, and virtue will grow. Cultivate it in the nation, and virtue will be abundant. Cultivate it in the universe, and virtue will be everywhere. Therefore, look at the body as body, look at the family as family, look at the village as village, look at the nation as nation, look at the universe as universe. How do I know the universe is like this? By looking.
Man, that is one of the most succinct cases for actually developing a life philosophy.
Yeah.
Because what he's basically saying is that when you sow the seeds of the Tao, wherever it happens to go,
Mm-hmm.
it multiplies.
Right.
and like, I don't want to make it sound like I'm just talking about Taoism. Like, so, like, one of the things that modern cognitive behavioral therapy um, attributes to Stoicism for those who practice that actually understand those roots
Right.
is the framing effect, right? So it's not just the things that happen to you that determine your reality, but also how you think about them. And that doesn't mean like push it aside and be in denial, right?
Yeah.
But like it's also the practice of extracting lessons from experience.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds really dumb to a lot of people, but a lot of times, like a really bad attitude can make even a good thing seem horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, let's take a spoiled kid, kind of like I was for a certain period of my life.
Yeah, me too.
And let's say, like, you really have it in your mind.
Yeah.
All you want to do, it's your, like, 15th birthday or whatever. It's the quinceañero. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't exist, guys. It's quinceañera, and it's usually only for women.
Yep.
But let's say you're like 14, 15 years old, and you have it set in your mind that the only thing you want to do this birthday is like hang out with your friends and be stupid.
Yeah.
But your family plans a surprise gathering for you.
Yep.
Now, if you weren't expecting anything, you'd probably think, oh, cool, surprise, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But if you're the annoying 15-year-old narcissistic brat, all of a sudden you're like, ew, I just wanted to go hang out with my friends. Why did you do this? Now I'm stuck here.
Right.
Right? And that's a really common thing that people do with many different situations that they don't even realize.
Yep.
And, like, that's one example of a component of a life philosophy that I think we should intentionally cultivate. A life philosophy is a systematic, to me, is like a gathering of tools and strategies to deal with life, and then you create like this thing around it so that you can help other people around you. And I don't think people intentionally like either find or cultivate a life philosophy. I think most people just think it happens by accident.
Right.
But to be honest with you, if anyone had taught me any of this crap when I was a kid, without using a bunch of cliches and actually led by example,
Mm-hmm.
because like my family talked a good game, but they had a hard time doing it,
Yeah.
like at all. Again, because it was all stuff, like a lot of it was stuff they encountered when they were in college or something that really like opened their mind, and they were trying to share it even though they didn't know how to live it.
Right.
And when you're 6 years old, dude, you don't care about what a book says.
Yeah, exactly.
You care about the examples you're given. So I think it's really powerful to consider forming your own coherent life philosophy.
Pretty much.
I mean, in and of itself, it's a worthwhile exercise.
Yeah, it's the most difficult path, but it's the one I feel is most worth it.
Oh, dude, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
He who is he who is filled with virtue is like a newborn child. Wasps and serpents will not sting him, wild beasts will not pounce upon him. He will not be attacked by birds of prey. His bones are soft and his muscles weak, but his grip is firm. He has not experienced the union of man and woman, but is whole. His manhood is strong. He screams all day without becoming hoarse. This is perfect harmony. Knowing harmony is constancy, and knowing constancy is enlightenment. It is not wise to rush about. Controlling the breath causes strain. If too much energy is used, exhaustion follows. This is not the way of the Tao. Whatever is contrary to the Tao will not last long. Anything on that one, dude?
That one is. I think it's pretty explanatory if you've been following what we've been saying.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Anything you might want to add?
The last stuff about like rushing about and all that. Yeah, being like that in your mind and outside in your life is not very effective if you're trying to get things done, or if you're trying to like figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and the thing is, with social media, there are so many like events and stuff that people like want to go to and then end up not going to.
why is that?
Either because like certain plans pop up, or they forget, or something like that. It's made us very. It's made us like a habit of making superficial choices.
Yeah.
Like choices that aren't well thought out or like considered or anything.
Yeah, no, I agree. That actually reminds me of something. Right, like there's this line that the Joker says in The Dark Knight Rises, right?
You mean The Dark Knight?
Or what? Yeah, I forget what the hell they're called now.
The second movie.
Yeah, or part 2 of Batman Year One.
Yeah, Nolan Batman.
Yeah, Nolan Batman. But like the Joker's like, why so serious? Or he's always asking that, and like I forgot who said this, but like somebody was like in a movie somewhere was like, don't take life too seriously, you'll never make it out alive.
Yeah.
That's a cool way to look at like external circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I notice is that people don't take themselves seriously enough.
Right.
And when I say that, I mean like, so if you have an earnest desire to be an artist
Yep.
or to like work in medicine as a nurse or a doctor or um, like you want to be a clinical psychologist or an actress or whatever the hell you want to be,
Right.
those are things
Hmm.
that I think you should take seriously
Right.
because those are signposts from inside of you that tell you what kind of life you might want to live.
Yep.
And yeah, that might change over time. Like we go through an inordinate amount of school and we have life experiences, but pay attention to when something catches you so strongly.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff worth investigating. That's a sign to investigate that thing and see if that really is for you.
Right.
And that you should take seriously.
Yep. That's it's the crux of having purpose, I think.
Yeah. And like I see so many young and people my age for that matter that are like, oh, I should have done this, or like I really want to do this, but it's stupid, I can't do it. How do you know? How do you know? You haven't tried yet.
Yeah.
You don't know. Like you can theorize, but you need to understand that all that shit is a hypothesis.
Yep. Pretty
It,
much.
it's not reality. So if there's something you've been putting off, and you're watching this stream or you're watching a video like this as a video, get up, stop watching this, and
Yep.
go learn to do that shit. Because I don't want you to watch this and waste any more damn time.
Yeah.
Because, dude, whether you believe in heaven or hell or reincarnation or something,
Yep.
I'm going to put it to you this way. That might be true. But
Mm.
are you willing to bet your current actions or lack of action on that?
Yeah.
Because this life is the only thing we know for certain that we currently have.
Yep.
So use this time and make it the life you want to live.
Yeah. Basically.
Do some soul searching and figure that out. Please. Alright. I get frustrated by people who tell me they can't do something.
Yeah.
Man. Those who know do not talk. Oh yeah, it's your turn.
Yeah. Those who know do not talk. Those who talk do not know. Keep your mouth closed. Guard your senses. Temper your sharpness. Simplify your problems. Mask your brightness. Be at one with the dust of the earth. This is primal union. He who has achieved this state is unconcerned with friends and enemies, with good and harm, with honor and disgrace. This, therefore, is the highest state of man.
Yeah, I haven't gotten anywhere near that.
Yeah.
Have you?
Nope.
I think for me, this is what I'd like to call the mythical state.
Yeah.
I don't think that's part of ordinary human experience.
Hmm.
The only people I know who like have achieved anything even resembling that are people who sit in a room and meditate for most of the day.
Yeah.
I haven't met anyone who lives an ordinary life who is. I'm not saying they don't have good qualities. They do. But this kind of thing to me is like the idea of the Buddha. Right? It's like a paradigm that is more something to strive for rather than to like necessarily become.
Yeah. But the line about concern with friends and enemies, good and harm, honor and disgrace, like, those are just perceptions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, you could have enemies, but you don't have to look at them as enemies. They could look at you as an enemy. I mean, I just think of, like, the social relationships we have and all that.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's just, like how do you see it? It's about your state of mind, whether that's the highest state of mind or not. Like that's really opinion.
The universe change, life opinion. Marcus Aurelius paraphrasing Epictetus.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So that's kind of how I view it. I
I
try not
get,
to think about those types of things as like goals.
yeah. I've come to this place where I think goals as we conceive them in the West
Yeah.
um, are kind of like psychologically damaging
Mm-hmm.
because we mistake the achieving the goal
Yeah.
with having purpose,
Basically.
right? When really it's the things that you do on the way to your destination
Mm-hmm.
that make you who you are.
Yeah.
Like, if I decided tomorrow that I wanted to pursue a master's in clinical social work for some reason,
Right.
it's not it's not me achieving that degree and getting the job that gives me purpose.
Right.
It's everything that led up to that that gives me enough experience to be able to help someone that does that. So it's the whole thing.
Right.
It's not just like I've achieved the goal, therefore now I have purpose. And if you look at it from that broader point of view, you'll start noticing that things in your past have also helped you on your current path.
Yep.
Maybe there are things that you have to contend with. Oh shit. Apparently I have too much to say, but I'll come back to it. Um yeah, I'll come back. But be careful with your desire and ability to make a goal the way we traditionally think about it.
Right.
Okay. Oh my god, I'm burping. Ugh. Rule a nation with justice. Wage war with surprise moves. Become a master of the universe without striving. How do I know that this is so? Because of this. The more laws and restrictions there are, the poorer people become. The sharper men's weapons, and the more trouble in the land. The more ingenious and clever men are, the more strange things happen. The more rules and regulations, the more thieves and robbers. Therefore, the sage says, um, I take no action and people are reformed. I enjoy peace and people become honest. I do nothing and people become rich. I have no desires and the people return to the good and simple life.
Mm-hmm.
Anything on that one?
Um. No, not really. It's it's a common theme. The more rules and regulations, yeah, more laws and all that. Ironically, we just get more, uh, stepped on.
Yeah,
Even though they're supposed to actually, the purpose is to protect us and all that, but it's like rules and regulations, more thieves and robbers. Like, if there's no human face to it, we're more likely to engage in those types of activities.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
I definitely agree with you.
Yeah. It's just harder now because also we're kind of globally overpopulated. So
Yeah, I don't think we've had to deal with a population crisis quite on this scale.
yeah. So the best we can do is, try to have more open conversations about things as a global community.
I agree.
Yeah.
Um, you know that that's why I think we should try to be a little more conscientious in how we approach everything, basically.
Yeah, and social media can be a useful tool for that. Like, it doesn't have to be all bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're using right now.
Yeah, we're using social media.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're not anti-tech, obviously. So,
Although I feel anti-tech some days.
yeah, there are days like that.
Because some days I'm just like, dude, I can't get this to work right. Why? Which,
Yeah.
incidentally, is why we're using Restream without OBS, because it was just easier.
Yeah, it's just, I've met people who really are kind of anti-tech.
Yeah.
Even though they still use technology like hammers and sinks and all that.
Dude, it's weird because some of those people will have like Facebook, Instagram, and a cell phone.
Yeah.
And like they don't see that as being in conflict with their overall position on technology.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know.
Yep.
You might want to look at that a little bit.
Yes. 58. When the country is ruled with a light hand, the people are simple. When the country is ruled with severity, the people are cunning. Happiness is rooted in misery. Misery lurks beneath happiness. Who knows what the future holds? There is no honesty. Honesty becomes dishonest. Goodness becomes witchcraft. Man's bewitchment lasts for a long time. Therefore the sage is sharp but not cunning. Pointed but not piercing. Straightforward but not unrestrained. Brilliant but not blinding.
I just realized that that's usually the way I am with people when they're crisified. Like when they're in the midst of a weird crisis type situation, I tend to be that way.
Yeah.
Like it's funny because some people think I'm a complete dick, right? And then like some people think I'm super nice.
Yeah.
And then depending on the situation, they start having the exact opposite perceptions.
Yep. And then they just think you're two-faced.
But the truth is, both of these things are me.
Yeah. That's why nowadays I say I'm just a nice guy and an asshole.
It really just depends on the person and the situation. Like if somebody comes, like when I was reading tarot, right?
Yeah.
If somebody comes to me consistently with the same problem, why am I going to continue talking to them in the same way?
Yeah.
Like, I've given you a perspective. I've given you some potential ways of dealing with the situation you're in.
Right.
And then you come back to me with the same exact problem. You can't expect that I'm just going to keep saying the same kind of crap to you. I'm going to be like, dude, get up. Like, look at your situation and go do the stuff. If you're not going to do it, like, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then that makes me a jerk? Like, I don't think so, dude.
Yeah, just being practical.
Yeah, like, and I mean, that's the problem that a lot of people who are real online personalities, because we're not, right? We're just,
Right.
But, like, people expect them to be one way all the time.
Yeah.
And nobody's one way all the time. Yeah, nobody's one way all the time. I was trying to think of other examples, but I can't. Because even the nicest people have these moments where they're just like, can you please just leave me the hell alone?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you call them an asshole. Like, no, dude, they just want to be left alone.
Pretty much.
Hold on. In caring for others and serving heaven, there is nothing like using restraint. Restraint begins with giving up one's own ideas. This depends on the virtue gathered in the past. If there is a good store of virtue, then nothing is impossible. If nothing is impossible, then there are no limits. If a man knows no limits, then he is fit to be a ruler. The mother principle of ruling holds good for a long time. This is called having deep roots and a firm foundation. Um, the Tao of long life and eternal vision. How do you think about this one? This one's a little weird for a lot of people.
Um, I kind of look at it as the idea of restraint by giving up your own ideas, and depending on the virtue gathered, it's like past experience based on your own practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, being open to new ideas, not being attached to any one idea. But it's just interesting because it mentions restraint, so like that word it's very tricky.
Yeah. That's
Because at the same time, you don't want to like be without any ideas or like indecision. I think it's more like giving up your own ideas about whatever it is you're trying to get or strive for. I was just thinking about this the other day. Like we don't we don't know what we want. We have ideas of what we want and need, but we don't actually know what we want and need.
right.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I was thinking about it.
I mean, which is why my whole orientation toward life now is like, you know, I try to do more things that I know I'm going to be uncomfortable doing.
Yeah.
Unless there's water involved, because I can't really swim.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anything that doesn't involve like impending death, yeah.
I might skydive.
Huh?
I might skydive, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, anything where, yeah.
I'm just messing with you. You know what you mean.
So 60. Ruling the country is like cooking a small fish. Approach the universe with Tao, and evil is not powerful. But its power will not be used to harm others. Not only will it do no harm to others, but the sage himself will also be protected. They do not hurt each other. And the virtue in each one refreshes both.
The country is like cooking a small fish. Man, I'm trying to wrap my head around this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I don't know what to say about this one.
Yeah, let's think about it.
I guess we'll just keep going, huh? Unless you want to stop and think about that one.
We can keep going.
Okay. A great country is like low land. It is the meeting place of the ground of the universe, the mother of the universe. The female overcomes the male with stillness, lying low in stillness. Therefore, if a great country gives way to a smaller country, it will conquer the smaller country. And if the small country submits to the great country, it will conquer the great country. Therefore, those who would conquer must yield, and those who conquer do so because they yield. A great nation needs more people. A small country needs to serve. Each gets what it wants. It is fitting for a great nation to yield. A random thought popped in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I wrote a response on Quora a while ago now.
Yeah.
And it was in response to, like, somebody saying, I'm worried about the rise of bilingual schools in the United States. Like, do you think Do you think it's a bad thing? Do you think Spanish is gonna like outstrip English in terms of usage in the United States? You know, that kind of question.
Yeah.
And I got a really peculiar response recently. By the way, that answer blew up more than anything else I've written on Quora, um, which is weird because it's still growing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this old, fearful, sort of racist grandfather,
Yeah.
said he was a grandfather, was like, how did he say this? Or should I just put it on the screen?
I don't know. But
I don't want to out the dude.
yeah.
I think that'd be mean. And he was basically like, you know, uh, I don't think bilingual education should be forced on anyone. And then he talked about an experience where he went to a coffee shop somewhere in the U.S. and, like, I guess no one working in the store spoke English. And he said it made him feel really uncomfortable. And he doesn't want his grandchildren to have to, like, go through that. And for now, America is an English speaking country.
Mm.
And I responded, I hope one day that you're, as someone who teaches people to find joy in exploring other cultures and languages,
Yeah.
I hope your grandchildren's horizons expand far beyond yours. But I'm sorry that made you uncomfortable. Because, like, I mean, yeah, I'm being kind of a condescending ass, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stupid thing to think because the very reason why people have this perception is because they've watched a certain subset of the population grow
Yep.
without them doing anything. So they think that if they start trying to be active, they can stop it. No, dude.
Yep.
No. That's not how this works.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to language.
I mean, dude, you've seen the articles that National Geographic did a few years ago about what most people will look like in about 100 years?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, they're all going to be mixed, and nobody, you're not going to be able to tell what anybody's ancestry is.
Yeah. You know what? That's fine.
Yeah, I don't care. It looked beautiful to me.
Yeah. You know what's funny about older people getting fearful and all that, or holding on to opinions? One of my coworkers this morning, like, because he always goes on rants, so, and they're always memorable. Kind of reminds me of you.
What? No.
You know who I'm talking about. But yeah, he was just talking about how like older people who were born in like the 60s or who lived through the 60s have this attitude of like, they can say whatever they want because they're older, and like us younger people and all that crap don't know anything, or like we should show them respect. I'm not even talking about like senior citizens who are like that. I'm talking
No,
about people
you're
who are
talking about people that are like in their 40s and 50s.
yeah. And he was just saying like, hey, get over it. Like 4 or 5 generations have passed you by already. Things are different now, so you can stop being an asshole.
Yeah, that's my attitude toward it.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, that's true, because like so many people in that generation feel like they can say whatever they want.
And I'm like,
I'm not saying everyone's like that, but
so
yeah.
many are, though. Like, the people of that era, like, especially that were born in the, like, 50s,
Yeah.
tend to have this weird sense of entitlement, and I'm inherently better than you are.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, if you were better than I am, you wouldn't be shopping at the same stores as I do.
Right.
You'd live in an entirely different neighborhood in a completely different income bracket, and you'd be happier than I am as a person. But that clearly isn't the case.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, get over yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of the other reason is people aren't really comfortable with debates. or they don't know how to debate. They just know how to yell and scream.
Yeah, I know. They think that's what debating is. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Dude, I was a debate judge. That's not what happens in debate tournaments.
Yep.
It's not even.
Just putting it out there. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I don't like you.
It might, but it
Yeah,
doesn't.
it might. Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean I don't like you.
Yeah.
Depending on you as a person, we can have a very heated conversation. I'll be fine with you after.
Yeah.
But like, the reason I won't like you as a person has nothing to do with your point of view and everything with how you carry yourself with that point of view.
Yeah.
And if you don't know the difference, I can't help you.
Right.
Whose turn is it?
I think it's my turn.
Okay.
So Tao is source of the 10,000 things. It is the treasure of the good man and the refuge of the bad. Sweet words can buy honor. Good deeds can gain respect. If a man is bad, do not abandon him. Therefore, on the day the emperor is crowned, or the 3 officers of state installed, do not send a gift of jade and a team of 4 horses, but remain still and offer the Tao. Why does everyone like the Tao so much at first? Isn't it because you find what you seek and are forgiven when you sin? Therefore, this is the greatest treasure of the universe.
See, this reminds me of what most religion is supposed to do.
Yeah.
But like so many people within certain systems fail at it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that's a veiled insult toward my Christian upbringing, it's not veiled. It is an insult.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I mean, dude, one of the most attractive things about another person, like, is when they're capable of displaying, like, near unconditional acceptance of another person.
Right.
Because then you don't feel like there's anything you need to hide from them.
Exactly.
And that's, like, stupidly powerful.
Yeah.
Right? And often, like, I hear more conventionally religious people say that that's why they're religious, because they found that unconditional love and acceptance from within that community. But then, like, it boggles my mind that many times there are people within those communities that say that, and they for some reason, are incapable of sharing that with anyone else.
Yeah, especially people outside of that community.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just kind of weird.
Because, like, let me tell you guys something. You know, this whole idea of being brothers and sisters in Christ is a complete ripoff from Stoicism.
Mm-hmm.
And the original idea was not that because you were baptized in a certain way, you are now brothers and sisters with those who were baptized. It was that the Stoics believed, as did many of the ancient Greeks,
Mm-hmm.
and that the thing that primarily separated us from the rest of the animal kingdom,
Yeah.
was our capacity for reason.
Yep.
Our capacity to think about our own thoughts, our capacity to contemplate the universe.
Yeah, yeah.
And so even those who are from different philosophical schools or people who disagree with you are still your brother or sister because they share in that same capacity for rationality.
Yeah.
And personally, I think that's a much more powerful idea.
Yeah, agreed.
So the next time you think of criticizing someone for not being the same religion as you, or because they did something you disagree with, and you want to, like, throw them out of your life, unless it's an egregious thing, like, you really need to consider what is your relationship to that person and what is your relationship to humanity in general.
Yeah, because we all have things in common.
Like, really ask those questions. Don't bother answering them. Just think about them. Do not come to definitive conclusions. The question is more important than the answer. because the answer will change as you live.
Yeah.
I know it's changed a bunch of times for me,
Oh yeah, me too.
and I'm sure it'll continue to change for both of us.
Yep. And it should.
Yeah, that's the point of life, dudes, is that it should change.
Yeah.
What a sensible human should do is when they're faced with new evidence, be like, well, damn, I have to rethink my position on these things. That's
Right.
normal. That's not being two-faced.
Yep.
That's like, oh, there are things that I had no idea about that now I do. Now I have to go think about what that means for me.
Right, exactly.
That's what we're supposed to do. If you believe in a creator, that's what we were created to do.
Yep.
If we weren't, we would have these kinds of minds.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, 63. Alright. Practice non-action, work without doing. Taste the tasteless, magnify the small, increase the few. Reward bitterness with care. See simplicity in the complicated. Achieve greatness in little things. In the universe, the difficult things are done as if they are easy. In the universe, great acts are made up of small deeds. The sage does not attempt anything very big, and thus achieved greatness. Easy promises make for little trust. Taking things lightly results in great difficulty. Because the sage always confronts difficulties, he never experiences them.
This reminds me of a conversation I was having with somebody recently,
Yeah.
where there was a video I watched that I quite honestly didn't care for.
Mm-hmm.
It was this guy named John Quinn,
Yeah.
who grew up with CP in the 60s, and he was like, so his talk was about how I beat cerebral palsy and served in the Navy.
Yeah.
And that way of framing things, like, so the talk was awful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until the end, when he said that, like, the reason I do this is so that kids with disabilities and other people will not have to do what I did.
Yeah.
Because everyone has the ability to do something, and we should give people the opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the rest of the talk was a complete turnoff for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you've known me for a long time, you completely get why, like, that would not inspire me at all.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And, like, I get the sense that he's really, like, it's kind of like, a coming out experience for him, right?
Right.
Like, finally, I can let this go.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's still struggling with acceptance in a lot of ways, even if he'll say no, because he's military, so he's trained to, like, be like, I'm hella stoic. No, this ain't bothering me no more. I've moved on.
Yeah.
But, like, you can see it in the way that he speaks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I went through the same thing in a different generation, because, like, he was probably born in the 50s, and I was born, like, 30 years later, right? But I was also born when there was no ADA.
Yeah.
And my grandpa served 26 years in the United States military, and then another, like, 15, 20 years as an aircraft mechanic at United Airlines.
Yeah.
And, like, my grandparents loved me, and I don't doubt that. But they spent a lot of time trying to fix me, to heal me, to make me more normal.
Yeah.
And so what that taught me as a person was that I was not good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to be completely different in order for them to really accept me. And, like, I felt that way for a long time.
Yep.
And as a result, I tried to pretend like I didn't have a disability. Like, and I can't pass, dudes. I'm in a wheelchair, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't pass for being non-disabled, but my attitude was like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm better than that. Like, Um, and then when somebody brought it up, like it would really piss me off.
Yeah.
And so what I think is more important for people to walk away from is the end of the dude's message. We
Hmm.
we need to work in a way. We need to like build a world where people don't have to lie about being disabled, where people don't have to lie about being on antidepressants because they're afraid they're like their boss is going to fire them.
Right.
Right? Because you've read a bunch of articles about whether or not to disclose you have a disability or mental illness or whatever.
Well, yeah. Sometimes they just don't even consider you.
Right? No, exactly. And that is the problem, right? So, but as a result of that, I was having a conversation with somebody where they asked me like why I had a problem with the way he worded it, and I'm like, because the whole paradigm is wrong.
Yeah.
The whole paradigm says that like cerebral palsy is over here, like somewhere else. I am me, and this is something I need to overcome.
Right.
To me, it's more like it's always next to me.
Yeah.
I always have to know that it's there, and because of that, I have to do things in a certain way.
Mhm.
But in no way does that mean I view my life as limited.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most powerful weapon to take away, not conquering it to do something.
Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
doing something in spite of it, but understanding that it's a part of you, and even with that, you can still do things that you want to do. You might have to go about them in a different way, you might not. There's a really huge variety of symptoms and severities in CP, or any other disability for that matter.
Hmm.
And like, some people can pass and others can't. And like, but the thing to remember is that that does not define who you are.
Yeah.
And take it from somebody who spent, I want to say, the first 20 years of my life
Hmm.
really like in complete denial.
Yeah.
It took another 10 years for me to come around, and 5 more for me to figure out like, oh, this is nothing I should be ashamed of.
Right.
So if you are thinking of writing a, by the way, the book is actually pretty good. His talk was awful, but the book is there's a lot in there. I just think he's not very good with words, and he needs to learn to tell a story in a shorter form.
Hmm.
But the book is really good. I would recommend it. It's called Someone Like Me. I don't remember the byline because, or the subtitle because it's awful. It's something about the story of one man's triumph over disability to like bubble, that kind of
Yeah.
inspiration porn type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean.
But the book is good. The title needs work.
Well, yeah. If we're thinking about overcoming these things, it's not a very healthy message, I don't think.
No, and I think a lot of people in our various communities have had the experience where when they stopped thinking of it as something to overcome, that's when they actually started experiencing life more fully.
Yeah. The overcoming is in psychological.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you stop thinking of it as something to battle and just something that just kind of influences how you do things rather than what you do,
Yeah.
you start noticing there are more possibilities.
Yep.
Sorry for the rant, but it was kind of important.
Yeah. How many more do you want to read?
I don't know. What about you?
I was thinking like maybe 2 more.
So this one and the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that works. Because I was thinking the same thing.
All right. Peace is easily maintained. Trouble is easily overcome before it starts. The brittle is easily shattered. The small is easily scattered. Deal with it before it happens. Set things in order before there is confusion. A tree as great as a man's embrace springs up from a small shoot. A terrace 9 stories high begins with a pile of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles starts under one's feet. He who acts defeats his own purpose. He who grasps loses. The sage does not act and so is not defeated. He does not grasp and therefore does not lose. People usually fail when they are on the verge of success. So give as much care to the end as to the beginning. Then there will be no failure. Therefore the sage seeks freedom from desire. He does not collect precious things. He learns not to hold on to ideas. He brings men back to what they have lost. He helped the 10,000 things find their own nature, but refrains from action.
What do you think by that?
Yeah, don't try so hard, guys. No. But I'm coming to find that the word action, the way it's translated, like I always think of, in this Taoist context, I think of action as like trying to achieve some observable result for yourself.
Yeah, like being attached to the ends.
Yeah, it's not like action as like, oh, don't do nothing, but like, don't try to like force something that isn't going to happen.
Yeah, and I think like because he's never gonna watch this. He doesn't like computers, but Van Patten, dude, when he talked about Taoism,
yeah,
I feel like he completely mischaracterized it as being completely passive.
Yeah.
And to be fair, that's a lot of people's conception. But if you want a more Western way of putting this, devote yourself to the process and not the result.
Yeah.
Right? Or fall in love with the process. Dedicate yourself, whatever verb you want to use.
Right.
It's about the process of getting there rather than the end goal.
Yep.
And I know a lot of like high achieving people who would disagree with me, but then when you evaluate their lives, that's basically what they ended up doing. They found something that they really enjoyed doing and they got highly proficient at it. And that's what enabled them to achieve the goals that they've now achieved. Not because like they were like, when I grow up, I want a monthly salary of 100,000.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
If that's your starting point, you're not going to get anywhere because your brain doesn't know what to do with that.
Yep.
It's like, okay, what jobs make that kind of money? What does this mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? I don't know. So then you just end up doing nothing.
Pretty much.
And I've seen that with kids in high school now that think starting a YouTube channel is like a guaranteed path to success, and then they give up after like a month.
Yeah.
Because they don't realize that for the longest time you may not gain any traction.
Yeah.
Maybe you're trying too hard to imitate somebody else.
Yeah, so just do what you want to do.
Maybe you just don't have the personality. Or maybe you just haven't found your niche.
Yeah.
It could be any one of those things. But things take time, and when you're young, you feel like you have no time.
Yep.
When you reach, I'm not going to call this middle age, but like maybe middle adulthood. Because I kind of think of, the senior part of life like as kind of a distinct stage of
oh yeah, like a lot of changes.
Yeah. So like when you get to a point, so like I'm like 36. I'm about to be 37. I almost said I am 37.
Yeah.
But I realize now that I made a ton of mistakes that actually had a lot of long-term consequences. One was being extremely hard on myself to the point where I felt nothing was possible because I screwed everything up. But it was because I did not set realistic expectations and I didn't understand the value of submitting to the process of growth.
Yeah.
So now I recognize that like I don't have as much time left as I used to. But ironically, I'm okay with things taking more time than I feel they should sometimes.
Yeah.
And if you're young watching this and I sound like an idiot, oh no. Maybe I am. Last one is on me.
Yeah, 65.
In the beginning, those who knew the Tao did not try to enlighten others, but kept it hidden. Why is it so hard to rule with the space modulator? Um, because people are so clever. Uh, Rulers who try to use cleverness cheat the country, and those who rule without cleverness are a blessing to the land. These are the two alternatives. Understanding these is primal virtue. Primal virtue is deep and far. It leads all things back toward the great oneness. So, like, the one thing that this passage points really well to is, like, the unity of opposites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, we talked about it earlier on in the series when we talked about the yin yang symbol.
Yep.
And most people I've found, regardless of whether they consider their lives easy or difficult, if they're open to the experience, they eventually come to very similar conclusions about life.
Right.
If they spend their entire lives trying to control their life experience, and a lot of people do, to be fair,
Mm-hmm.
you'll find that they feel the most disconnected from anyone else you've ever met.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really strange phenomenon.
Yep.
So I guess I know I'm sounding a lot like a hippie these days,
Mm-hmm.
but be open to experience. Let experience teach you. Don't ever think that you know too much to need to be taught.
Right.
That was one of my biggest mistakes in my earlier years.
Mm-hmm.
Because early on I was told that I was ridiculously smart. I had paperwork to prove it. And so you couldn't tell me shit. You couldn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
I would figure it out on my own. Go fuck yourself. That was my basic attitude. And it's not a good attitude to have. It's great to be intelligent, but intelligence is only a tool.
Yeah.
It's what you do with it that makes the biggest difference, not whether or not you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because studies show that an IQ above 120 makes no significant difference in quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
The average IQ is 100. And the disparity between 100 and 120 in terms of what that means for life outcomes is not that huge, guys.
Yeah.
So intelligence in and of itself is not something to be proud of. It's what you do with it. We read this a couple days ago in Epictetus, right? So, as a little preview, I guess.
Yeah.
This is the best way to explain it. So the Stoics believed that there was good, there was evil of a kind, and then there were indifference, and they were either preferred or dispreferred.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, virtue to the Stoics is the only true good.
Yeah.
Right? So that's things like moderation, wisdom,
Yep.
patience, or
Yeah.
prudence, and courage.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then Tim LeBon, when we do the Stoic series, I'm actually going to pull up that video because from his own personal research on both Stoicism and positive psychology, he adds two more virtues that he thinks elucidates where some of the originals kind of leave it a little too nebulous.
Right.
And I kind of think he's right. I think his expansion belongs and is very useful. But so the Stoics thought that these virtues were the things that were most worth cultivating, and that everything in life other than those things were indifferent. But like people take that to mean that they didn't matter.
Yeah.
But that's not what that really means.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that, or should I just? right?
I can keep going.
What, man? Why don't you want to do it? All right,
uh, no, you're on a roll. So
I guess. So instead of thinking like, oh, it's indifferent, therefore it doesn't matter, what they meant was that in comparison to these cultivated virtues, these in categories of indifferent things are nowhere near as important and worthy of your attention or your emotional investment.
yeah,
But to be clear, they didn't think that they didn't matter at all.
hmm
So dispreferred indifference were things like old age, right?
yeah,
Because it affects your health, therefore your health, uh, bad reputation, things like that. They understood that those things affected life,
yep,
but they saw like next to virtue, like those four cardinal virtues, that it didn't matter quite so much. And so on the other side of the fence, you had things like health, wealth, status, like the ability to like make money and provide for your family. Those are all things you would prefer to have. And they understood that, and they didn't say that those were bad things or that you should ignore them,
yep,
just they were not as important. But they also acknowledged, one, that these things would make it easier for you to practice your four cardinal virtues and to do the things that you found most valuable in life.
yeah.
Um, there was somewhere I was going with this. Oh, going back to what I was saying about intelligence,
Yep,
they would look at that like a high intellect as a preferred indifferent
pretty much.
because it's a good thing to have because it would make you better at being rational and being able to apply rational principle to life.
Yep,
But Epictetus makes a strong distinction between like having the thing,
yep,
what you do with it. He said having the thing is not that important. It's what you do with it. If you have a dope intellect and you use it to lord it over others, then it becomes a vice.
pretty much.
If you use it to help others and help the world and yourself, then it becomes a thing that facilitates the cultivation of virtue or good.
Yep,
And I think that's the note I kind of want to leave this on. Something to consider. It's not things in and of themselves that make life good or bad. It's the way we look at them
pretty much.
and the way we use what we have that determines their value.
Yeah, you can find different uses for this from the same tool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So with that being said, dudes, I have been Captain Gimpy, the Lord of Gimpia,
yeah, and I've been Zen Burro.
the Zenist of Burros. I am also the vagabond, the philosophical vagabond.
Yeah,
You are. What's another word with a stronger overtone than vagabond that would be funny in this context? How about the philosophical philanderer?
mm, I don't know. I'll think about it.
Because, like, it's kind of like cheating on other philosophies.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, right? All right, dudes. We'll see you.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, I don't know when next time is.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right, we'll see you next time, dudes.
All right.